Today we are going to be working on taking out the old steering wheel and putting in a replacement steering wheel from Grant.
First thing we're going to do is take the horn ring off. It just pops off with a gentle pull. How much pressure would you say you put on there?
Not a whole lot, a couple of pounds.
Okay.
We're now going to go ahead and disconnect the battery so that we don't blow any fuses or, destroy any electrical components. Wow, that was quick.
Taking off the horn ring is what it's called. And he's just using a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Take off 3 screws. We're doing it with the battery disconnected. 3/8 drive ratchet, a medium extension, and a 13/16 socket to try to undo the nut
I'm going to need
that holds the steering wheel on. It's kind of a challenge getting the steering wheel to not spin while you're spinning the nut, but he's broken it loose.
Alright.
This is for the steering wheel puller. We dug a couple of bolts out of our little bolt bucket, and as we started trying to put them in, we discovered that they didn't want to thread.
Alright, there we go.
The point here is not to tighten them up super tight. It's just to kind of run them in as far as they want to be run, but that's plenty good. But when it starts resisting, then you should just stop. Don't crank down on them. The steering wheel has been in place for 40 years. We're going to see if this little steering wheel puller will take it off. The center drive of the steering wheel puller is a 5/8 inch head. And Dylan's applying some force now, but he's not using a cheater bar or anything. Did you see it come loose?
Yep.
I think I just saw it come loose.
Yep.
Okay, so now you should be able to grab it and just pull the whole thing up.
Alright,
Okay.
There we go.
This is the contents of the Grant steering wheel adapter kit for this 1980 Camaro. There's just a metal cover.
Yep.
It'll probably cover everything else. It's kind of a spacer with splines. It looks like it will go on the steering wheel shaft.
Yep.
Okay.
And some electrical parts, bolts, a spring, and a wire to connect the horn.
Okay. This is part of the install kit. It's a little kind of cast aluminum adapter. Little black metal spring goes into the white sleeve, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're going to stick that in there.
Okay.
Just like that.
Now the smaller end of the wire goes through this black sleeve. And the instructions say to make sure that there's a small tab that is towards the bell end of the wire. The only problem is both ends of the sleeve have a small tab, so we're kind of thinking it doesn't matter. You're going to push it down there and lock it.
Yep.
So you stuck the black sleeve in there and made a small clockwise turn. Here is it assembled. And that's our horn wire.
Yep.
And if you pull on it, is it locked in?
It is.
Okay.
I'm going to route this wire through this hole.
There's 3 equally spaced small holes, and there's 1 bigger slot. the wire goes through the bigger slot.
Alright, we shall then be sticking the steering wheel on.
And that wire has to go through the kind of the odd, non-equally spaced hole in the steering wheel.
So I'm just going to stick that on there loosely for now. Rather difficult. You got to hold all of these in alignment at the same time.
I would tell you you're making it look easy, but you're not.
Just trying to align all 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of material and then screw in a screw into the silver piece that we put on ages ago. Luckily, the first two kind of hold the third one in position. So it's easier the more you have done.
Okay. Now, Grant specifies to torque these 3 bolts to, they're called shoulder bolts. They say to spec them to 10 to 12 foot-pounds. When we did that on the first kit, the bolt stripped.
Yep.
So what we're going to do now is probably... Oh, and the best part was the woman I talked to about doing a return at Summit Racing then told me that we had made a mistake and that it was our fault that it broke, even though I don't know any way to measure 10 to 12 foot-pounds of torque without using a torque wrench, but she said since I was using a torque wrench that I had screwed up and it was my fault, which I found to be an interesting theory. But anyway, I think now we'll just snug them up to where we're pretty sure they won't come loose and call it good.
Just don't want to strip it, because this would be a whole lot harder to unstrip.
I understand. It's also a big problem if it comes loose while you're driving.
I don't believe it will. Alright, now I'm going to attach this wire onto this electrical lead here. Like so.
What keeps this orange ring from making contact with the metal?
This spring right here.
Okay, where's the
So
spring go?
this spring is going to rest on this nut, and on the other side it's going to rest here,
Okay.
on the inside of this.
Okay.
And this is going to be holding the orange ring by these knobs.
Do you have that spring on the right way? Because it doesn't look like it. It's a conical spring.
Perhaps not. Come on, turn. All right.
See if it's gonna... It looks really good. It seems to maybe be a little bit smaller than the original, which will give us more room to get in and out of the driver's seat. Also a good thing. It's power steering. We won't have any problems with you know, the reduced diameter being a problem at all. I'm just going to kind of show you how the installation kit fits. There is a little gap between the cap that they provide and the rest of the steering column. And it's not horrible. It's maybe slightly bigger than I expected. But overall, especially from the driver's seat, it looks really good and it feels nice too. So we're happy.